Chakshu Anmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Purave Gaurachandra Rahadikaye Tatale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah. So, first of all, I'm remembering my spiritual master, my spiritual teacher, his teacher, and his teacher, and our entire lineage of unbroken masters that goes all the way back to Sri Krishna himself. And how that knowledge descends down to us to this very day. And also, I want to pay my deep respects and honour to every single person in this room. So, sing, connect, reflect, something like that. I think this class is called. So I was looking at the poster for this event the other day, and what came to my mind is one invention from 1835, if I remember the year correctly. And it's a very influential invention. It had existed at least a couple of thousand years prior to that. The Greeks made a portable version of it about 500 BC. And the Romans, they modified it in some way, 300 BC. But how it took a turn in 1835, can anyone think of what this invention may be? Spirit? Not quite. I think it's a bit older than that.
What's the name of the class again?
Sing, connect, reflect. It's there in the title.
The mirror?
The mirror, yes. In 1835, they discovered, we should put a silver backing on the back of the glass. So in the 1600s, they were already using glass mirrors, but the reflection was not clear, it was still obscure. So in China they used to polish jade, and also in the medieval times there would be bronze mirrors, silver, polished metal. Mostly it was really only available for the rich, but when I think it was one French or German fellow, he discovered, I should put silver backing on it, then mirrors really took off. So, previous to that, we never got a clear image of our own body. You could go to a body of water, a calm lake, and you could see your reflection. Maybe something in polished metal, polished stone, but never clear vision of your own form. And what happens today? Everyone has a mirror right in their pocket, and they can record themselves doing something stupid and put it all over the world instantly. So, reflection is a topic for contemplation today. The mirror industry is actually, even today, is worth over $100 billion each year. That's how much humans are spending just to see themselves. And this doesn't count the mobile phone industry. So, one guy called Ian Mortimer, in his book Millennia, he writes, the quality and the availability of the mirror in the 15th century began to shift how humans began to see themselves. A shift from the medieval world to the modern world. Previously, he says, people would see their identity in relation to groups. Of course, that still happens a lot. But with the mirror, the concept of individuality arose, and the conception of the self that we have today, it used to not exist as strongly as it did, because now we are really absorbed in bodily consciousness. And because we can see our own body so clearly, it really propagates this absorption in bodily consciousness. People become very vain, you know. They have some blemish on their face, if they're too fat, they're too short, they're too skinny. They really don't like it. People will spend thousands of dollars to a nose job, Botox, all this investment in a temporary body. So, this body is ever changing. You know, every 3 to 7 years, all the cells in our body are renewed, including the brain cells. But our identity becomes so fixed in this temporary but changing body. And you know, this was illustrated very strongly in the Greek tradition and the history of, can anyone think? Narcissus. He was so enamored with the reflection of his own form in the river. And even though he was approached by Echo, and she was deeply in love with Narcissus, but he rejected her. So, in the Greek tradition, echo, 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 echo. She could only repeat the last 2 words that anyone was saying. So she could not have a full conversation with anyone. If someone said, hello, how are you? All she could repeat back was, how are you? How are you? So she went to approach Narcissus, but she could not express her love fully to him. Very tragic story. And she was rejected by Narcissus, so she went to Nemesis, the goddess of vengeance. And eventually, Narcissus, he took his own life. So, this may seem like that's a bit of an extreme case. And you know, many woke people today, they're calling, oh, this person's a narcissist or that person's a narcissist. But we all have this narcissistic tendency. It may not be in bodily consciousness, but we're always absorbed in our own reflections. Not just on the physical level, but manas, the mind, it also has a reflecting quality. The chitta, the subtle psychological body, it is like a crystal. What happens if you put a crystal next to a red rose?
Change color.
It turns red. Well, it reflects the red, so it seems to like it's turned red. What if you put it next to a piece of blue velvet? What colour will it be? Blue, yeah? Not green. So the mind is like that. Whatever you absorb your mind, your psychological apparatus in, it reflects and takes on these tendencies. It's something very interesting. So Vasanti Dasi, she will hand out some paper now. We have a little exercise, a couple of exercises this evening. Most of us are so busy in our everyday life, perhaps looking after our families, or even just trying to pay the bills, we get no time for reflection. What am I doing? Why am I here? Is my life really going in the direction that I want it to go? Am I really happy? What is the purpose of this? Where's it all going? So does everyone have a piece of paper?
I'll start.
Well, those who have can begin. on this piece of paper, hold it up and look at the piece of paper. Look at the top, look at the sides, look at the bottom, look at it back, look at it front. Now anywhere on this piece of paper, draw a dot. Very simple exercise, just draw a dot. Can anyone tell me what happens, what changes when you draw the dot on a piece of paper, apart from it having a dot on it?
My vision goes there.
Everything now is in reference to
Dot.
the dot. Everything's now in reference to the dot. So mind is like that. So to take this exercise a little further, and I really want you to be honest with yourself here. I'm not, if you want to share later you can, but this is a personal exercise for yourself. I want you to take a couple of minutes to reflect and think about those things that are really important to you. And you can make a list. But be honest with yourself, not what you think should be important or whatever. What's important to you? Then we have another exercise after that. I won't ask everyone to share, so don't worry. Things that you really value, things that are important, ideals. They don't have to be something positive. Like I say, try to be really honest with yourself in this exercise. Couple more minutes. If you like ice cream, you can write down ice cream, no problem. Pizza. So we'll start to draw this little exercise to a close. You can continue it in your own time later. Now, if you feel like you want to share anything, you can. So I'll start with something. And like I said, be really honest. So what's important to me is drinking a cup of tea and eating a biscuit. I like to do that every day, a couple times. For those who know me, it's true. So try to be honest with yourself. Anyone else like to share anything?
That's it.
I have more, but that's an important one. Anandini?
Love.
Love?
But chanting, exercise, and food.
Chanting, exercise and food. Yes, I think food's quite important to many people.
Security.
Security.
Mm.
These are good. Mm-hmm. Anyone else? You don't have to share. Yes, you do.
Success in my endeavours.
Success in your endeavours.
Respect.
Respect.
Health.
Yes. Can't do anything if your health is not good. Anyone else?
Sleep.
Sleep. Yeah.
Nice one.
To eat.
To eat. Yes.
Access to fresh food
Access to fresh food. Mm-hmm.
and water.
Yep.
Communication.
Communication. Mm-hmm.
Connection.
Connection.
Perfection.
Perfection.
No,
for-
affection.
Ah.
Understanding.
Understanding.
Comprehension.
Anyone else like to share anything?
Attentiveness to our children.
Mm-hmm.
Manifesting my Gurudev's desires for me in my life. That's the my term.
Okay. So, anyone else is welcome to share if you want to say anything? No pressure. So I would imagine that what a lot of people have shared here, they're actually very common values. Many people would share these values, but of course we all have our individual values. Now, sometimes our life doesn't align with our values, or it's very hard to follow our values because of certain conditions, certain internal or external influences, and there can be quite a dislocation between what are our actual values and what's happening in life, and this can cause a lot of internal suffering, because what's happening out there doesn't align with our preferences in here. And you know, any time really that we're suffering, we'll see that there's a certain preference that's not getting met. There's a certain point of view that we're trying to hold on to, and what's happening in the external reality, it's not aligning with that internal vision, and it causes a state of contraction internally in the inner space. Just like if there's two fish swimming in the ocean, or one fish, and a storm comes along on the surface of the ocean, very violent storm, but because the ocean is so deep and so vast, that fish can swim down into the depths of the ocean and it is not feeling the disturbance on the surface of the water. But if you take that same fish and you put it in a very small bowl, any disturbance on the surface of that bowl, the fish feels everything acutely. So in Sanskrit, you may probably have heard of these words before. There's two words called sukh and dukh. English translation often, happiness and distress. But the beautiful thing about Sanskrit, it also has a metaphysical component. So it's actually describing metaphysically what happens. Because Sukh means happy or light, expanded sky of your mind space. So some days maybe you just wake up, it's a sunny day outside, it's a Saturday, you've got the day off work, but for no reason, practically, you feel happy, you feel light. So that's a state of Sukh, happiness. And then, contrastly, there's a word called dukkha, and that means contracted space. Sometimes you wake up and you're just in a contracted internal mind space. And whatever happens in this contracted state, you really feel everything acutely. Can people relate to this? Yeah. We all experience Sukh and Dukh. So sometimes Dukh is brought about internally, sometimes externally. But often there's an internal contracted feeling. Now, often our internal reflections, they are a kind of extraversion. They are from a vision looking outside. So, you might say, oh, I've got a friend and, so-and-so is really contemplative, and like a philosopher, always thinking about the problems of the world and what's going on and how to remedy it and this and that. Is this person introspective or are they extrospective? What do you think?
Extrospective.
Why?
Because they're not focused on what's inside, they're focused on what's outside.
So even their vision, it's all related to what's going on outside. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he calls this the Bahirmukh Jiva, the individual whose vision is always concerned with what's going on outside. They may spend a lot of time internally contemplating, oh, I'm really concerned about the state of the world and everything that's going on, this or that is happening, but it's all a kind of extroversion. It's all a vision that's going on outside. And so the great saints, they don't prescribe being absorbed in an external vision. Basically, our fortune lies in introspection. And introspection means looking at the deeper questions in life. Who am I? Why am I here? What am I doing? Where is it all going? But sometimes, this is the category for philosophers. How's that relevant to my own life? But how can we ever find peace inside when all of our mind is just consumed in the fluctuating waves of thoughts coming from outside? So Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras, he's defined yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is a complete cessation, a complete arresting of the fluctuating wave modulations of the mind. Because all the passing thoughts in the mind, they're like clouds. But these clouds, they have a gravitational pull. And we become absorbed into the gravitational pull of the mind stuff. The psycho, mental, emotional mind stuff. And then we find identity in these fluctuating modalities in the space of the mind. And we think, I am my thoughts. I am my belief. I am my feelings. But all these things are always changing. And the truth never changes. It never changes. But the truth is very humble, very quiet. And the moving states of the mind is very busy and very enticing for the consciousness. So we become lost in these. Krishna has also said in Bhagavad Gita, Samatam yoga uchite. Yoga is equilibrium of mind. So Patanjali has said, Tadajas Radus Rupe Vastanam. When you're not absorbed in these fluctuating states of mind, we can give an analogy like If you go to a very calm lake on a very peaceful day, no wind, very, very still. There's one lake up in Northland, it's called Coca-Cola Lake. The water's black from the gum of tea tree. And so you can look there on a calm day and you can see your reflection very clearly in Coca-Cola Lake. But when it's a stormy day, or you drop a stone in that lake, ripples will come and you can't see your reflection here. So when the lake of the mind is clear, then you can understand, who am I? What am I doing here? And my relationship with the Supreme Reality. But when the lake of the mind is in a state of oscillation, in a state of confusion, you cannot understand anything. And these passing ripples in the lake of the mind, you identify with that, and you think, oh, I am so-and-so. And he or she is also so-and-so. And, you know, world views, really they're self-views. This is how I see the world. And so that's why whenever you talk about things such as religion or politics, people become very, very touchy because their beliefs are so intertwined with the thoughts in their own head. But all these things are just temporary and passing. So the great saints, they say we should become antarmuktiva, internal and introspective. Also in the Yoga Sutras there's one term called swadhyaya. Swadhyaya means self-study, but also study of the scriptures. Because the great saints, they have given teachings that are like roadmaps, and they can guide us to come out of this quagmire of the mind. But so often we are just trying to engage everyone else in the validation of the own fluctuating states of our own mind. Our beliefs or even our emotional states, these are still just ripples in the lake of the consciousness. So I'm not invalidating anyone's emotions or anything like that, but it's another place where we look for identity, but no permanent identity will be found there. So we want to clean the dust off the mirror of our own mind so we can understand who we are and what is my purpose? Why am I really here? Otherwise, whatever we're doing in our life, wherever we're going, we will just, the only other option is, because Patanjali says, Sarupam iti ratya, you're either in your own nature or you're lost in the state, in the fluctuating states of your mind. There's no in between. So you're either in truth or you're in illusion. It's quite a profound statement. So now, another little exercise. If you wish, you can write down a list of what you actually do in your day, in your week. What you actually, be really honest with yourself, what you actually do.
In action.
How you spend your time. How you actually spend your time. And be really honest. You may think you spend 8 hours a day in samadhi, but be honest about what you actually do. You don't really need to share these ones. We probably don't really want to hear what we get up to. can actually learn a lot about yourself and your own nature from what you actually do. You can think how you spend your morning before you go to work, what you do when you come home from work, what you do on your weekends, what you do in your free time. You can continue this list later in your own time. Now, take a look at your list and see how does that compare to your values, that which is important to you. Are they aligned? Are they the same things? Or you might find that there could be quite a contrast. Maybe you thought, oh, I spend 10 hours a day chanting Krishna's name, but actually I spend more time on Instagram. Nothing wrong with it. Not saying it's right either, but just be honest and see where you actually spend your time. Because sometimes it can be quite shocking what we think we do and what we actually do. One Lama, Lama Yeshe, has written a book, Become Your Own Therapist. I like the title of that book. So this is an exercise to become your own therapist. Save yourself some money. It's very helpful to know the workings of our own mind so we can befriend our mind, because the mind makes the best friend, but it's the worst enemy. So you can reflect on this perhaps in your own time. If you want to share anything now, you can. But sometimes there can be quite a contrast between what we actually do and what's actually important to us. And maybe we're going through a particular phase of life where we have to work really hard, or we need to look after our children, etc., etc. There's different seasons of our life. But sometimes it can give us insight what we actually do. This is actually what's important to me. Why is it important? Because I spend time doing it. I didn't know it was important, but actually I spend a lot of time doing that. And if it wasn't important, why would I spend so much time doing it? So these can be quite helpful exercises actually. And you know, in the Vedic paradigm, there's 4 basic natures of the human being. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra. So that means Brahmana, one is like a teacher, one who likes to study, acquire knowledge in the more pure sense, is one who has spiritual knowledge, spiritual insight. And then there's Kshatriya, one who likes to protect, warrior caste, soldiers, etc. And then Vaishya, those who like to make business. And then Sudra, those people who are really good, practical, working with their hands. So when you reflect and see what do you actually do with your time, see, when we have some free time, perhaps if we're not too much locked in other engagements, those activities that we do, whether we get paid for them or not, but we really have a passion for doing them, this is an indication of our actual nature. And it can be aligned, it will be aligned with one of those 4 varnas, one of those 4 individual natures that we have. So would anyone like to share anything about? No pressure.
On phone.
On the phone.
A lot.
I think a lot of people could. Yeah. And like I've already mentioned, sometimes it can cause a lot of frustration doing what we're actually doing and what we want to do. And sometimes we don't know how to reconcile those two. But the Vedic knowledge, it gives us the capacity, the teaching, how to reconcile all the contradictory qualities of life. And that's found in one source. And how to have that one source as your dot in the center, that's what we want to move towards. So, one last exercise for the evening, and you can come into groups for this, maybe 2 or 3 groups. Write down in your group some ideas about God. What does our mind reflect to us when we hear God or religion? You can go into little groups. And really be honest about this. I've given a few classes on God and religious trauma because this is actually a really important subject, particularly in Western countries, because so much nonsense has gone on in the name of God and religion. So sometimes when we hear these terms, we get very triggered. So let's see what our mind reflects when we think about God, religion, spirituality. And then Sita will lead us on a beautiful kirtan.
see church and like terrible things that have happened in the church. So I was like, no, I'm not even doing that. And it was like, man, I was, you always on the back foot. I just want to have like this conversation about this beautiful, divine creator, you know.
In some countries that's more common than other countries. Because like I know some people talk about God, people everybody could talk about God, and it's like, yeah, it makes things very like it's not to generalize, like God, how you can talk about God, and then some communities in New Zealand, we talk about God, especially we had a mum from Trust from South Africa, and she would talk about God, because in South Africa I think it's common to talk about it. Yeah, and she talked to me about it, and I was like, okay, she's very Christian, I'm not like, saw eye to eye, or like, yeah. And New Zealand, we go and talk about it in the same way, like, I'm telling them the same, like, belonging need is very comfortable talking about God. New Zealand, yeah, is that kind of interesting? One agreement, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's like,
Believe.
it's
It's the same as believe. That's believe.
yeah.
Believe. Yep. And believe belongs to God. And I just know E. Just one arrow. I didn't want to know anything about God. I said you are believe is so it's like I believe in something. It's something you do. So it's a bit of like a grammar.
forces you to
Belief is a noun, so it's the name of the idea that you believe in.
Everyone's happy that you can oversee a kind thing like
I have believed, I believe. You believe when you believe how the sentence there. Believing is something we're doing, and belief is the name of the idea that you are believing in.
it's hard to get to.
About 3 more minutes, folks.
It's hard to think of the Christian conception of God.
Faith is kind of related to belief. Faith and there's a higher power of being that is much beyond power and trust. I think it was we didn't that there's something beyond what we understand. Yeah, it's like
Comes to uncomfortability because people think that
well, like X means outside.
the word religion brings up
Inclusivity means inside. So accepting.
uncomfortability.
So yeah, exclusivity means like to keep away. So like you might not welcome or allow others in.
I think it's just because
But
it's
then inclusivity means that everyone is welcome.
so
Everyone is accepted. Everyone is
associated
welcome.
with sort of misuse of power, and it's also very
Oh, what did you mean by
Is it very
exclusivity?
strong?
That's what I
about religion. I like to think that this is religion and it is not God.
Yeah.
And
People say exclusive. Sorry to interrupt. I said you could use it like to mean that only a certain type of person
often
or
conversations
belief is
I've had
welcome there.
people
Only
either
and other beliefs or other types of people are not accepted. It's kind of like that's how it's used. That word exclusive. It's exclusive. You have to belong,
I wish
you know, to the.
Yeah, that was
feel the same way.
Great.
See the universe
Who's a cat?
and
Was it?
all the different
I reckon
directions.
didn't understand his
Because there's so
how
many
high speeds he was making those comments.
either people
More than but
just can't see beyond the 60 seconds
I just think
or they are very sectarian.
No idea.
This is God, this is my God, this is your God, and they can't reconcile that actually. Well, it's one God, but they could. Well, if there's God, then there's one God. What about
Scenery and stuff. Remember, be very honest. If you've got some beef with God, you can write that down. Some beef, some problem.
Realize the way that I just with my partner yeah, you have to out other people don't see it how that's like an exclusivity and like, you know, you have to kind of like that and extinction just yeah, and it was kind of like she did, she should have such a kind of like save me. It was like I couldn't understand that she didn't related to like, you know what I mean? Like you can't always understand. And inclusive. Like we obviously see oneness, you know, like, and then I'm used to thinking like that, and then when I come across people that don't think like that, it's shocking.
So starting to wrap this up now, guys.
Your exercise for ego collection for yourself is like, okay, this is how that person feels,
Or you might also be switching on something else if you have a different belief or
I know that to try
So now we can perhaps share a little bit from each group, some thoughts that we have around God, religion, spirituality. Start this group.
I didn't know what I think about God.
Yeah, I'm particularly interested to hear from the new people. First, anyway.
I think we all agree that God is oneness. More, yeah, it's like the words that we wrote were oneness and personal, but a wholeness.
Wholeness.
Yeah.
Complete.
Yeah.
Did you want us to share now how we feel about the word religion?
Sure.
What we discussed?
Yeah, we'll go through each group and
Yeah, so we felt that, we don't feel that comfortable discussing religion in public. Yeah, that's where we're going with that, right? Yeah. It is quite a heated word, and it has so many different meanings to different people, and that we kind of also agree that we want to practice putting ourselves in other people's shoes because they might not see it how we would see it, and it's a good kind of empathy exercise to realize that everybody feels differently about it.
Maybe also another important point in our conversation was about how in different cultures, depending on the culture around talking about religion and God, people can be more, general public can be on average more open to that topic
Yeah.
or not so much. Sorry, I forgot the name.
I'm Nilima.
Nalima was saying, for example, in South Africa,
Oh, I didn't live there, but teaching here, I had a South African parent who would always, like, I've noticed they'll talk about God very openly, but I feel like Kiwis are maybe less likely to do that, and then
quite resilient.
also, like, spend a lot of time in India, and there, everybody talks about God all the time. It's like
Can't get away
like
from it.
the heater is called God, like the fan is God, like everything's God.
Nice. Anything, any more from this group?
She was talking about how it's a really like personal thing. It's like the concept of God is very different for everyone. It's a really personal thing, but it also encompasses everything at the same time. And I was talking about how for me the word God, if I'm talking about the word God with someone, it's always, and if they're open to it,
Mhm. If you want to ruin a party, talk about two things: religion and politics.
Well, everyone has their own opinion about God.
Yes.
No one's gonna be silent about it. Or you love it, or you hate it, or you.
Everyone has something to say about it.
Yes.
It's a very strong word. Yeah, but it's just a word.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like, how do you feel about it?
Amongst scholars, there's actually not really a definitive agreement about what the word religion actually means. It's quite hard amongst scholars to define a term. But one common one is belief in a supernatural or higher being.
Oh, for religion.
Yeah, for the word religion.
From Latin, religio is like, you could whittle it down to relationship. That's what I muse about, because everybody's interested in relationship. However, it's such, the word is so taboo, like everybody's like, gets their hackles that we talk about religion, it's like, I'm not religious. But when you look at their value system, actually they are. They have some, their plumbing is all the same. Their main veins are the same, which
This is a really
their morality,
profound point.
yeah.
Why am I posting this selfie on Facebook? Because I want some relationship, some recognition from people. Everyone is looking for a relationship. Everyone is looking for love. A relationship with some being that will unconditionally love me through all my nonsense, everything. And usually relationships in the material world are transactional. You know, they're like a business agreement. And when that business agreement is broken, problem coming. So sometimes people get fed up with that, so then, oh God, I'll go to God for that. But we're spirit, soul, and you know, the relationships in this world are based on the body and the mind, but these are fluctuating, ever changing. No two people ever stay the same. And people are coming from different backgrounds, they have different impressions in their consciousness, but we so desperately want those people who are closest to us to see the world the same way. But it's impossible for two people to see the world exactly the same way, because they have different impressions in their consciousness. But if we do have some shared commonality, oh, this is nice, we can be friends, we can be partners. But still, this is somewhat superficial, because we want a relationship based on something that doesn't change, and that can only be found in spirit. Next group.
Do you want to say something? Which one's for God and which one's for religion?
No, we're just like putting the
We're just brainstorming how.
Yeah, good. Just
So God and religion kind of combined. We had light, rules, love, incomprehension, shelter, community, exclusivity and inclusivity, searching, looking for meaning, afterlife, trust, belief, faith, and belonging. We were just kind of brainstorming those concepts.
I think with this discussion we could actually make this a whole day program, unpacking each term and each little popcorn idea that comes up, because it's actually very profound, and they may seem somewhat trivial, some of these ideas that are coming up, but they can actually be huge stumbling blocks on our spiritual progress, because if these things are not resolved within our own consciousness, how can we have faith? How can we actually take shelter of something when we have huge reservations about things on the spiritual path, God, religion? That's why many people turn away. You know, they may have grown up in some religious background, but then they see the behaviour of other followers of that path, and then they become very scarred, and they throw away. It's throwing the baby away with the bathwater, and it's a very sad predicament to be in, because you know it's no mystery to anyone all the atrocities that have gone on in the name of God and religion for thousands of years. But actually, this has nothing to do with God, but it has everything to do with man's agenda for power and control, and has been used in the name of God. So we have to first cultivate that discernment and perhaps recognize if we are in some kind of trauma response with our relationship with God. Because if we don't recognize that, then it can be very difficult to progress. So it's an interesting topic, God and religion, and what comes with that. Rules is another important one. If I follow religion, I have to stop having fun, because those bloody religious people, they're just always trying to stop me having fun, can't eat this, can't do that, But
It's true.
it's a Codicea, I can't have a cake, Is it true or not? This is another class in itself, we won't go too much into it, but who's here has read Bhagavad Gita or has some knowledge of yoga? There's 3 terms, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. You ladies know about that? Satya, Rajas and Tamas. The 3, yeah, 3 energies of material nature. Energy of clarity, an energy of distraction, and an energy of complete inertia. So, following a routine, this brings about sattva gun, the energy of clarity, the energy of stability. So, in the Christian tradition, they have the 10 Commandments. In Buddhism, they have the 9 precepts. In yoga, they have the yamas and the niyamas. So every tradition has some guidelines, but it's not just to quell our fun. It's to actually give stability to the mind, to the body. And then when the mind is stable, then we can actually have some internal realization about the supreme reality, and we can move beyond the platform of just blind belief. So there's actually the sages of the various traditions, they are great scientists, because spirituality is the greatest science. So that's why some rules and conditions are there. It's to actually bring us to a higher level of happiness, a higher level of enjoyment, not something that is ultimately going to pull us down into the soup.
You also look at the alternative, what's going on there. Freedom is just have whatever you want, and you can see pretty clearly how that's serving society.
Yeah, we can see throughout history any society that promotes hedonistic behaviour and unregulated sense enjoyment, they get overrun by barbarians and the entire civilization gets destroyed. You can study any civilization in history, this thing we're just talking about, that's what happens. And those that have God consciousness at the centre of their society, they will endure. India has been conquered by so many people. The greatest genocide in the history of the world happened in India over some hundreds of years. Hundreds and millions of people were killed in India. But still, because God is at the centre of society, then that civilization has endured. But Roman Empire, they were enjoying so much, and what happened to them? Gone. Puff of wind. Next. Mataji at the back, would you like to share something? Thoughts about Bhagavan?
The way of practice, I'm not read anything to
That's all right.
civilization, but the way of practicing the rituals of the god
Mm-hmm.
and the rites. Like, I'm from India, so we have lots of rites and regulation, and we have to do it as per the god. It's called like every different god has a different way of approaching, the way you do the arti, the rituals and everything. Praying for family and myself with any chantings, the mantras, that is what God for us is. And God is something above all.
Thank you very much for sharing. And sometimes these different practices and different religions can be very bewildering. Like if you go, to a church, you have to take your hat off. If you go to a Sikh Gurudwara, you have to put your hat on. So which one's right? Actually, what's right is their respect in something higher. And they have different practices, customs, social customs because of their tradition, etc., culture. But what we can appreciate is their reverence and how they're trying to do something with the commonality of connecting to something higher than themselves. So they have that commonality. You guys like to share something?
Moustache? No moustache.
Half moustache. But not that way. Bolo.
Yeah, down. Earnest, happy, inquisitive, kind, cheeky, charming.
Nice.
Playful. Content. Reciprocal.
Yes. Yayatha, what is it? Yayatha pradyante tamstava vijamyaham mama vartante manusha partha zavashaha. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, how one approaches me, I reciprocate accordingly. It's very, very profound. How you approach reality, reality responds. So Stephen Hawking, the quantum physicist, is he in a relationship with God or not?
Yes, we're all in a relationship with God.
You must be.
You can't not be in a relationship with God. Some people know it, some people don't know it. But how you reciprocate with reality, because Krishna is so merciful. He will validate your perception in some way. Oh, reality is just atoms. So then Krishna manifests as atoms. Of course, one's vision cannot see Krishna is in the heart of every atom. Oh, the universe is one, the universe is Mother Nature. So Krishna reciprocates in that way. However you want, Krishna will reciprocate with you. Krishna doesn't interfere with your free will. It's an eternal quality of your soul. Krishna is Atmaram, self-satisfied. What does Krishna mean? All attractive. So beautiful. The beach here, the mountain, go to some nice place in nature, the most beautiful person you've ever seen. All that beauty, it has a source. That source is a person. So how beautiful is that person who is the source of all beauty? So attractive. So Krishna literally means all attractive. There's no one more attractive than Krishna. Very handsome boy. So attractive. So the personality of reality is so attractive. So when the mind starts to become stable and we become inquisitive and perhaps we have some contact with a great saint, then the question may arise in our consciousness, how does reality want me to approach it? Instead of I want to approach reality in this way, I have some belief and then, okay, I'm going to try to search that and then find some evidence to validate the belief that I already have. So in so many of our conceptions about God, how many of them have come from outside? Things we heard, some nonsense that's gone on, some definition, all from outside. So this is antarmukh. Bahirmukh. This is externally. We hear about God and we create some concept in our mind. Now there can be a division here, because the great sages, their revelation of God has come internally in their trance, and then sometimes they will write down. So if our reflections of God are based upon the internal revelations of the sages, this is not external, this is internal. But the idea that we have about it, even if it's aligned with the truth, that's still in your own mind. It's not the actual reality. Vahiri Mahashai says this in Jivadharma chapter 4. I understand Krishna is the source of everything. He has all energies, but the idea I have about it in my mind, that's not the complete truth. If you want to realize the supreme reality, you have to get out of your mind. The mind has to be calm. So I just want to read a few quotes, and then Sita will lead us into a... No. Oh yes, please, our young... Sorry guys.
Prashadam, Kirtan, Super Soul chanting.
Hari Bol.
Nice.
Would you like to share what is Prashadam?
Well, I do Prashadam because we offer Prashadam to the altar and the
These ladies may not know what Prashadam is, so can you explain?
food. So we offer food to the altar, and the God is on the altar. So we give him food to God.
And that food becomes blessed.
Yeah, and because we do kirtan about all the God and and chanting because we chant about God.
Very nice, thank you.
Very elaborate.
Everything's there. Chanting, Prashadam, Kirtan, and Bol. So, if there's dust on a mirror, we cannot see our own reflection, understand who we are, and we cannot understand who is God. But when the lake of the mind is clear, then we can understand who we are beyond the fluctuating identifications of the modulations of the mind, and the beautiful form of God can be reflected in our own consciousness. So this analogy of cleansing of the mirror, it's actually shared in many traditions. So I just want to read a few quotes from various traditions. So in the Corinthians from the Bible, it is said, "For now we see through a glass, darkly, but then, when the mind becomes clear, face to face." Actually, Saint Bernard of the 13th century, he says, "God, please remove your shining white light so I can see your smiling face." And Rumi says, "Do you know why your mirror does not reflect? Because the rust has not been cleared off. Polish your heart and you'll see the image of your friend." And in Zen Buddhism, it says, "The mind is like a bright mirror. If the dust collects, it cannot shine. Wipe it constantly." That means constantly chanting the names of God. Do not let the dust settle. And Rabia, she says, "Raise your hands to God, not in request, but in love." So, yoga also means connection. And because yoga literally means yoking. So as we reflect, we can understand, I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not this. And when we come into contact with teachings such as Bhagavad Gita, then we can start to reflect on who and what we actually are. And the soul is part and parcel of the supreme reality, Krishna. So often even our reflection or connection with God is another kind of transactional modality. We want something. But devotion is not about transaction, it's about connection. Devotion is not about transaction. It can be, as you like, free will. But it's about connection, the ultimate connection. And that's the connection that every soul is longing for. And ironically, when we make that connection and cultivate it more and more, all the relative connections in our life will become nourished, because we'll see them in relation to that dot in the center. That's Krishna. So Sita will lead us in this kirtan. dust on the mirror of our heart. It's like the field of the heart is pure water, but that water has turned to ice. But these rays of the Maha Mantra, they are like the warming sun that thaws the cold heart. And when the heart is completely melted, the smiling face of Sri Krishna is waiting for us. So, time's getting on a little bit, so should we have dinner soon? Or we need a bit more time?
We need a bit more time, yeah.
Okay.
We need another 15 minutes.
Deeper. Okay, we tell a little story. I won't tell you anyway. So, 5,000 years ago, Krishna was here on earth. And during that time, there was one Brahmana, one very learned person in the priestly class, but he was very, very poor. And he had a wife, and he was very learned, he knew the Vedas. Actually, he's been described as a Vidwan, enlightened person. And his occupation in life was just to share knowledge. He didn't care about money, he was completely renounced from enjoying his senses. But because he was so poor, him and his wife were actually quite malnourished. And so one day, that Brahmana's wife, she came to him and she said, "Oh, we're very poor, we have nothing to eat, you should go and see your friend, that friend of yours who you went to school with. You know that friend Krishna. Krishna went to school. Can't put gold in a box, you know." So, Sudama, he thought, I don't want to go to Krishna and ask for anything. The Brahmana's name was Sudama. What was his name?
Sudama.
Sudama. So, his wife petitioned him. Sometimes ladies can be a little persistent, so I've heard. So, but she was also very devout to her husband and very respectful. But she kindly petitioned her husband, "Oh, please go and see your friend Krishna." I will just tell the story in very brief. So, Sudama, he thought, I don't want to ask Krishna for anything. And his wife said, Krishna right now, he's in Dwarka. Dwarka was an offshore island off the coast of Gujarat, and Krishna was living there in very many palatial buildings. 16,108 palaces were there. Actually, they've found that NASA has found them, the remains are there. So, Sudama went off to visit Krishna, but before he left, he thought, oh, I should take some gift. In Vedic culture, if you're going to visit a friend, you should take some gift. But they were so poor, they had nothing to offer. So then the Brahmana's wife, she went to the neighbor begging for something to offer to Krishna. And all they could receive was some flat rice. You know, flat rice, very dry. So Sudama, he put that flat rice that he received from his wife in one cloth, he wrapped it up, and he took that, and off he went to Dwarka, quite a long distance. And when he was walking to Dwarka, he wasn't thinking, because Krishna was the supreme, he knew that Krishna was Bhagavan, God, the supreme person. So you're going to see God. God can give you anything. Sudama was so poor, but he wasn't thinking, oh, I'll get some nice food, riches. All he was thinking about is, I just want to see my friend Krishna. Anabilas, no material motive whatsoever. I just want to see Krishna. That's all. If you're going to see someone who can fulfill any wish, any desire that you have whatsoever, he can give you a whole planet. What would you ask? unlimited pizza, $1 million, 10 wives. Sudama, no, I just want to see Krishna. So then he arrived at Dwarka and he went through like 3 checkpoints at Dwarka, each guarded by so many infantry soldiers and elephants. But when he arrived, he had the help from some local brahmanas and they guided him into Dwarka. 16,108 palaces. Which one's Krishna in? But somehow or other, Sudama, he entered into one palace. And when he went through the doorway, he was in Brahmananda, in such bliss. It was like being in the spiritual world. Actually, he was in the spiritual world. And it just so happened he arrived at Rukmini's palace, one of Krishna's principal wives. And then he made his way into the palace, and he made his way into the room where Krishna was. And at that time, Krishna, he was lying on Rukmini's bed, and he was there with Rukmini, and then his wife. And when Sudama came in the room, he only had very torn cloth, holes in his kurta and his top, looked real shaggy looking guy, you know, like a homeless person. But Krishna, seeing his friend Sudama, he got up, jumped off the bed, and he left Rukmini behind. Rukmini is the goddess of fortune herself. So, leaving behind the goddess of fortune, Krishna went running to this homeless looking beggar coming through the door. And he's, Brahmana, please come, sit on my bed. Push Rukmini to the side, come and sit down. Get some water. And so they brought some water in, and then Krishna himself, he has 16,108 wives, more money than you can ever imagine, and he's washing the Brahmana's feet. And then he's taking that water and he's sprinkling it on his head. And all the wives were scratching their heads like, who's this guy? Why is Krishna treating him like that? We've never seen him before. He must be some great personality. What tapasya, what austerity has he done? And actually, when they met, Krishna embraced him the same way he embraces his brother Balaram. Such affection he had for Sudama. All the residents of Dwarka, they couldn't understand, who is this guy? And then Sudama, he was also thinking, maybe because Krishna is also known as Brahmadeva, one who has such honor for the Brahmanas. So maybe he just thinks I'm some great sage or something. Maybe he doesn't actually remember me. So then Krishna, he was looking at Sudama, his friend, and he said, my dear brother, how did they know each other? They were in the school of their guru together, back when they were just young men. Krishna never ages, you know. Some people think, one guy was telling me today, I am God. But his face is full of grey hair. God doesn't have any grey hairs. He never ages. So, Krishna received Sudama so nicely. And then he was saying to Sudama, do you remember when we were in the school of our guru, Sandapani Muni? And we had such nice times together. And we learnt so many things. And do you remember that one time when our guru's wife, she wanted some firewood. And she told, you boys, you go out to the forest and you collect some firewood. So off we went, you and I, out into the forest. And we were collecting some firewood. And then some clouds, thunderous clouds, started to roll in. And the rain started to pour. It was like a huge deluge of water. And then the sun started to set. And we were out in the forest. And we could not, there was so much water pouring down, we couldn't find our way back. We didn't know where we were. And the water was raising, and we put the firewood on our head. And we were there all night, freezing cold, holding hands, trying to keep warm together, just you and I, Sudama. And then in this way, Krishna was confirming to Sudama, I know who you are. You are my friend. You are my guru. We have the same guru. So then, in the morning time, the guru became aware, Krishna and Sudama, they've been out all night. So he sent out some disciples, and also he went with them to find Krishna and Sudama. And when he arrived and he found them all together, but with the firewood still on their head for Guru Mata. Oh, you boys have done such tapasya, such austerity for me. I bless you, that all the knowledge of the Vedas will always be fresh in your heart. And Krishna, your immortal instructions will always be there guiding the world. So even today, from the blessings of his Guru, we have Bhagavad Gita. We have Krishna's instructions in the Bhagavatam. So Krishna, even though he is Adiguru, the original Guru, by his own example, he is showing us we need a teacher. We need a guide on the spiritual path. So in this way, Krishna and Sudama, they were reminiscing of the time with their Gurudev. And Sudama did not want to ask for anything from Krishna. Just seeing Krishna was enough. So attractive was Krishna. And then Krishna was thinking, you know, when you come to visit your friend, you should bring a gift. You know, we'll just go back for a moment. Sometimes if you go to visit your friend and you're a little bit hungry, right? And your friend asks you, oh, do you want anything to eat? And you say, no. Out of shyness and a bit of politeness, don't go out of your way, don't make anything for me. And then second time your friends ask, you sure you don't want something to eat? I'll cook something. Oh, okay then, all right. And then you're really hungry and you're very happy that they're making something for you. But Sudama was not like this. He didn't want anything from Krishna. No ulterior motive. So Krishna was thinking, did you bring me any gift? Of course, he's Bhagavan, he knows everything, he's in the heart of every jiva. He knew that his wife had sent some flat rice with them. So then Sudama was ashamed. He didn't want to offer. This is the Supreme Lord. Even like if the Queen came to your house, you're gonna some dried noodles or something, you're gonna offer them to the Queen? No. Krishna's far superior to her. So Sudama didn't want to offer this dry flat rice, so he was hiding it under his armpit in a cavity there because he was so malnourished. And then Krishna, he doesn't want anything but your love. So then by force Krishna snatched the sweet rice, or the flat rice, from beneath the armpit of Sudama, and he began to eat that flat rice. And it was a little bit salty from the sweat of Sudama walking all the way, you know. But Krishna, he's relishing the love of his devotee. He doesn't need any food, but he's taking the love. And Sudama had so much love. So Krishna, he took one mouthful, and then he went to take another one, and then his wife checked him, Rukmini, oh, just by taking that one handful, you've given yourself to Sudama. And he will be more wealthy and more opulent than Indra, the king of heaven. And if you take another mouthful, you're gonna have to offer me to Sudama. Because Krishna, he's accepting the love, and he will give himself to anyone that has love for him. Patra pusham phalam, just offer Krishna a flower, a leaf, just a cup of water, and Krishna will come. You don't need big opulent offerings, just love. And if you have big opulent offerings, so many preparations presented on a gold platter like Duryodhana, Krishna would prefer to eat dry banana skin because there's love there. So Krishna, he didn't take another mouthful. He respected his wife Rukmini. And Sudama, he spent one night in the palace of Krishna. But he knew he was going back and his wife was so poor. But what did Krishna give him? Nothing. Whoa, what's up with this God guy? What a tight fellow. Can't even give his friend some food. Can't even give us 100 rupees. But Krishna knew, if I give Sudama something now, he'll be very ashamed to receive something. And he actually doesn't want anything. But also, Krishna knew I should respect the wishes of his wife. So I'll give him something later. So then Sudama, he left in the morning, and he was thinking, I'm very happy Krishna didn't give me anything. Because if Krishna gave me something, then my mind might be thinking, oh yeah, money, new Ferrari, new house, I've got this, and then I completely forget about Krishna because of material enjoyment. So he was thinking, I'm very fortunate, and actually just to see Krishna, no material wealth can compare to that. Dhruva Maharaj said he wanted a kingdom more opulent than his grandfather, but then when he saw Lord Narayan, it was like I found a jewel amongst broken glass. How beautiful is Krishna, the Supreme Lord. So Sudama was walking all the way back to his place, and then when he got to his area, he didn't recognize the area. He saw so many palaces, so many beautiful people. He thought, where's my little shabby hut? What's going on? And then he saw one beautiful lady that was like the goddess of fortune herself. And then that lady was running towards, oh, my dear husband, you're home. She was so beautiful. Before, she was so malnourished. But Krishna had given a palace, so much food, so much opulence, everything to Sudama. Krishna gave this, but Sudama didn't ask for it. You don't need to ask for it. Krishna's in the heart. He knows everything. Krishna will always do what is best for us. Maybe at the time we cannot understand it. It could be very difficult. So, Sudama, he used all the opulence Krishna had provided in the service of the world. So there's no fault in money, no fault in opulence if you are using it in service. If you are just getting lost in that enjoyment, it will lead to your degradation. So one thing we can learn from this pastime, beyond all the ideas we have about God that we've collected from our own imagination, from external sources, what does it look like in our own life if we really just have the sincere desire, I just want to see you, Krishna. I just want to see that supreme reality. I don't want something from it. I don't want money, I don't want this. You can give everything, but I just want to see Krishna. Everything will come. If you have this sincere desire, everything that you need. But if you're going, I just want to see Krishna so I can get something, you can also do that, but that's not pure bhakti. So, there are so many personalities in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. This is also where this story of Sudama is told. And in the spiritual world, the form that you have is directly proportionate, the beauty of it is directly proportionate to the love that you have. So, in the 10th canto, so many personalities are there who have pure love for Krishna. And their forms are so beautiful. But that pure love is embodied most by the gopis, the cowherd maidens of Vrindavan. And out of all those cowherd maidens, one is supreme. Najani Radha Prema Achikata Bala Ya Balaya Marikari Swadala Vivala. Krishna is saying, I do not know the strength of Radha's love, which he always overwhelms me. So Radharani, she has the most love. So, how you approach reality, reality reciprocates accordingly. So the more love you have for God, the more love is coming your way. And who has the most love? Srimati Radharani. So by hearing about the pastimes of Radharani and the gopis, we can get some appreciation of the pure love that Radharani has. And we were talking about reflection. Krishnadas Kaviraj has written in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Yadyapi Nirmala Radha Saprema Dapana Tatapi Swachara Tara Bade Shani Shushana Although Radha's love is pure like a mirror, its purity increases at every moment. And although Radha's love is pure like a mirror, more and more love is coming. My sweetness has also no room for expansion, yet it shines before that mirror in newer and newer beauty. There is a constant competition, this is Krishna's words, between my sweetness and the mirror of Radha's love. They both go on increasing, and neither knows defeat. So Krishna keeps on becoming more and more sweet, more and more beautiful. And Radharani's love becomes more and more and more. So in this way, ever increasing. Prema kalaha, quarrel of love. But this is not a negative quarrel, it is a positive one. So we have an opportunity in our life to reflect deeply who we are, what are we doing, what is my purpose here. But ultimately, we need a teacher to help guide us. And that teacher can instill within our hearts the pure motivation of, instead of approaching God like a businessman, how does God actually want me to approach Him? Because when we have that kind of motivation, a whole new reality opens before our eyes. God has everything, but He doesn't have your love. And He's very greedy to taste the particular kind of rust, the particular kind of love that you have in your soul. And if you take just a little incentive to move in that direction, He will snatch that love, just like He snatched the flat rice from Sudama's armpit, and He will begin to relish, and you will relish even more. So this is the nature of Krishna, all attractive. Nittai Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe Shyam. Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Any reflections on today's class? You can also talk and share over dinner, and just while we're bringing the food out. Or, yes.
When you say to see Krishna, you mean to have a darshan, or like to meet, to have a relation? Like, what do you mean by seeing?
What was the context?
You say like it's important to see Krishna many times.
Mm-hmm.
Like he went to see Krishna.
This is Sudama.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
What do you mean by seeing?
Oh, Sudama was around, in the context of Sudama, he was around at the same time Krishna was on the planet. So he went to physically see Krishna because they were friends, they were sakhas. So it's not the same as seeing Krishna in Samadhi. He actually physically went, and because this is Prakrit, he went to Dwarka and he visited Krishna.
Okay. And like, because I heard that there is many, for example, yogis who do really hard tapas in meditation to have just one darshan of Krishna, but it's not what God wants. He wants more than that.
What God is looking for is love. So yogis can be in the Himalayas doing tapasya for thousands of years. And if they have a little bhakti in their yoga sadhana, they may get get some sporty, a momentary glimpse of Krishna after many thousands of years. But if you are following the path of bhakti and you are cultivating love for Krishna, if you take one step to Krishna, Krishna will take 10 steps running towards you. Because what God is really looking for is just love. Nothing else. It's just like human beings. They're looking for love. So they're putting selfies, they're putting this, they're putting that. They want some recognition. So many selfies but no knowledge of the self. So God, He's partial to His devotee. So the yogi may be in a mood of neutrality. So God may, if he's lucky, appear for a moment in his vision. But a yogi cannot be the friend of Krishna like Sudam, Arjuna, Sridham, Balaram, because they have bhakti. So this path of bhakti, even though Krishna is yet unconquerable, when you have bhakti for the Supreme Lord, that supreme cause of everything will become bound in your heart and you cannot escape. Bhakti Vatsala. So how powerful is bhakti? Krishna is the source of everything. He cannot be conquered, but if you have love, you can conquer him. So it's just like if a wife tries to tell the husband what to do. Men can sometimes have big egos. Maybe you've noticed, I'm not sure. So, but if that wife, the example is given, she's cooking very nice prasadam, very nice food for that husband, coming home from work and she's giving him nice massage on the shoulder as he's eating that nice food, then over time, that man's consciousness becomes completely saturated and conquered by the love of his wife. And then instead of thinking, oh, I'm going to go out with my bros after work today, he's thinking, oh, I better go home and see my wife. I love her so much. Oh, if I want to do anything, better check in with the wife. And in that way, the husband actually becomes completely conquered by the love of his wife. So, if you have love, this is the way to conquer. Love endures, not power. You can maybe control for some short time, but if you have love for the Supreme Lord, he becomes bound by that love. Radha Damodar. Krishna bound by the love of Radharani, bound by the love of Mother Yashoda. So this bhakti yoga, it's a school of how to bind the Supreme Person, Krishna, via the ropes of love. Yes, Mataji.
Can I also add something
Yes.
to what Swami just said? So Krishna wants us to love not just him. I'm going to take the same example what Swami just mentioned. You know how a husband, when I was once married, so when we pamper them, of course they like it, but they like it more when we take care of people who matter to them. So it's not just about loving him and doing things for him. The best thing we can do for him is to do the best for the ones he cares the most. That's everybody. The love should not just be towards him. That's that way, then you're going to receive only half of him. But if you want him to be with you always, you have to be with everything always.
If you have love for Krishna, that's great. But if you have love for people who love Krishna, like Guru, like his associates, then Krishna becomes even more bound in the heart. Very nice point here, Porter. So, love is crooked. It moves like a snake. It doesn't move in a straight line. So thank you very much. If there's more questions, people can talk over dinner. We'll just have one short kirtan, and then lovely blessed food will be there. Hare Krishna.